Hello everyone. Subscribe to the channel to get more videos. Also, let us know in the comments what city you are watching from. Now let's begin this one. The phone buzzed in my hand, making me jump a little. Corinne, I answered, half smiling into the receiver. It wasn't uncommon for my boss to call after hours, but something in her voice sounded different tonight. Henry, are you home alone? She asked, her tone oddly guarded. I glanced toward the kitchen where Anna, my wife, was humming as she set the table. Not exactly. What's up? Corinne exhaled a short sigh, like she was weighing her next words carefully. I have something sensitive to talk about. It's a special assignment. Very confidential. A special assignment. Those words made me curious right away. I'd been flying deliveries for years, ever since I'd left my surveying career, and while I'd handled plenty of unusual cargo, secrecy wasn't usually part of the deal. I'm listening, I said cautiously, lowering my voice and stepping into the hall. We have a client, Derek Morrison. You know the name. I hesitated. The tech guy? Right. Multi-millionaire. Has a mountain retreat near Lake Halden. He's ordered a custom-made interior. Expensive stuff. Wants it flown directly there. Tomorrow night. Tomorrow night? I echoed, surprised. That's a tight turnaround. That's exactly why it's lucrative. He's paying way above our usual rate, Henry. Triple, actually. I raised an eyebrow. Triple the usual rate meant a lot. Enough to put a dent in the mortgage, maybe even cover a nice vacation for me and Anna. Okay, sounds interesting. But why the big secrecy? Corinne cleared her throat, dropping her voice even lower. He wants to keep it quiet. It's a surprise for someone close to him. You can't breathe a word of this to anyone. Not even Anna. Understand? My stomach nodded slightly. Anna and I had a rule about secrets. We didn't keep them, not ever. But then again, this seemed harmless enough. And besides, Corinne had always been there for me. She'd hired me when no one else wanted a former surveyor with limited flying experience. She believed in me. I suppose, I said reluctantly. But why not even Anna? Corinne paused, clearly choosing her words carefully. This isn't just any client, Henry. Derek values absolute privacy. He's trusted me, and I'm trusting you. It's nothing sinister. Just a personal surprise. If word gets out, it ruins the whole point. Loyalty counts here. Loyalty. Corinne knew how to play that card. My pride stirred at the thought of her trusting me more than anyone else on the team. All right, I finally said. I'll do it. What are the details? I scribbled down notes as Corinne rattled off specifics, delivery times, coordinates, contact points. Her instructions were crisp, precise. This wasn't a casual favor. It was a carefully orchestrated plan. Henry, she said softly, interrupting my thoughts. Yeah, I know I can count on you. Her voice held something else too, a warmth that I didn't quite know what to do with. Of course, I assured her. I won't let you down. Good. Oh, and Henry. Yeah, thanks. I really appreciate your discretion. It means a lot to me personally. I stared at the phone after we hung up, puzzled by Corinne's emphasis but pleased nonetheless. Trust was rare these days, and having hers felt good. At dinner, Anna picked at her salad, her eyes flicking up at me now and then. Who was that earlier? I hesitated, the lie almost sticking in my throat. Just Corinne. She has a job for me. Last-minute thing. Is it serious? Just some cargo delivery, up near Lake Halden. She smiled, clearly relieved. Good. I was worried. You sounded tense. Nah, I waved it off. Just surprised. Last-minute jobs always catch me off guard. Anna seemed satisfied, returning to her salad, but the silence between us felt thicker than usual. Keeping secrets wasn't my thing. I liked transparency, always had. But the thought of disappointing Corinne, of losing the trust she just placed in me, felt worse. Later that night, while Anna slept peacefully beside me, I lay awake. The moonlight filtered softly through the blinds, painting pale stripes across the ceiling. My mind replayed the call, Corinne's earnest words. Was this really as harmless as she'd said? Still, the money was good more than good. And Corinne had never steered me wrong before. Maybe, just maybe, this secret was worth holding on to. At least until tomorrow. I turned onto my side, pulling the blanket tighter around me. Sleep took a long time to come. The promise of adventure tugged gently at the edges of my consciousness, tempered by the faint shadow of guilt. Tomorrow was just another delivery, I told myself. Just another job. I had no idea how wrong I was. The airstrip near Lake Halden appeared like a dark slash in the snow, nestled between towering pines and jagged cliffs. As my plane touched down, wheels kissing ice-crusted earth, I felt a sense of relief and curiosity all at once. The mountain air stung my lungs when I stepped out, crisp and bitterly cold. Around me, the world was quiet, pristine, untouched. After unloading the crates, expensive furniture and decor wrapped meticulously, I paused, checking my coordinates. The secluded Villa Corinne described lay just a short hike northward. I strapped on my snow boots tighter and started walking, the powdery snow crunching softly under my weight. My breath puffed out in small clouds as I trudged along, my mind drifting between excitement about the money and the vague unease Corinne's secrecy had stirred. As the villa came into view, I halted, momentarily taken aback. It wasn't just grand, it was stunning. Modern lines, expansive windows, warm lighting glowing softly against the twilight, a picture-perfect luxury escape. But as I came closer, voices drifted faintly toward me, carried by the mountain breeze. I squinted, recognizing figures on the expansive, heated patio deck. There was Derek Morrison, unmistakable even from here, lounging casually on a sunbed, his expensive sunglasses catching the fading daylight. And beside him was a woman, laughing softly, her head tilted back in relaxed joy. The sound hit me like a physical blow. I froze mid-step, the laughter ringing clear and familiar. A laugh I'd heard 1,000 times. A laugh I had known by heart. Anna. My heartbeat thundered painfully in my chest as I stared. She leaned in closer to Derek, brushing his arm with casual intimacy. Her posture was comfortable, at ease, like she belonged right there beside him. No, I murmured involuntarily, disbelief clawing at my chest. I told myself it couldn't be, mustn't be true. But denial was fleeting, shattered as Anna turned fully, her face unmistakable in the waning light. My wife. My Anna. She whispered something into Derek's ear, and he chuckled in response, casually draping an arm around her shoulders. My knees felt weak, my hands clenching into fists. Anger surged, hot and sharp, but beneath it lay something deeper, heavier, utter heartbreak. Before I could think clearly, I found myself stepping forward, closing the distance until I was standing plainly visible at the patio's edge. Anna's gaze flicked upward, meeting mine across the short distance, and her laughter vanished instantly, replaced by panic. Her eyes widened, mouth opening slightly in shock. Derek glanced up, calm but alert, a small smile still lingering. "Can we help you?" he asked mildly, clearly unaware of who I was. Anna's face flushed red, her voice barely audible. "Henry." I shook my head slowly, eyes fixed solely on her. "Don't." She took a half step toward me, her face a blend of guilt and desperate apology. It's not what you think." "No." My voice trembled slightly, quiet and bitter. "Because it looks exactly like what I think." Derek rose smoothly, a forced ease in his manner. "Let's be calm here. I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation." My glare snapped to him, fierce and unforgiving. "Who the hell are you kidding?" He raised his hands placatingly. "I didn't intend for you to find out this way." "So what?" I demanded sharply. "Was this supposed to be your big surprise? Is this why Corinne had me keep quiet? So you could humiliate me?" Anna shook her head vigorously, reaching out her hand as if she could physically mend the rupture opening wide between us. "Henry, please, let's talk." I raised a hand, cutting her off. "Save it, Anna. I've seen enough." Without another word, I turned abruptly and marched away, each step a forced act of self-control. Behind me, I heard Anna call my name, her voice choked with desperation. Derek's voice followed, low and soothing, comforting her. The familiarity and ease between them made my stomach twist violently. Numbly, I found a snowmobile parked near the villa's entrance, keys conveniently left in the ignition, likely Derek's. I didn't hesitate. I started it up, the engine's roar drowning out their distant voices. I raced away, snow spraying out behind me, escaping as fast as the mountain paths allowed. Cold air whipped harshly against my face, but I barely felt it. Instead, I saw Anna's face, her guilt, her fear, and her comfort beside Derek. The humiliation seared deeply, branding my heart with a pain I'd never known. The betrayal was sharp, but it was the realization that hurt most. They had played me for a fool, used me to deliver their little fantasy, and I'd trusted them blindly. As the airstrip came back into view, I slowed the snowmobile to a halt. The plane waited, quiet and indifferent in the darkening dusk. My breath came hard, lungs burning not from exertion, but from betrayal. I stumbled off the machine, fists clenched, shaking uncontrollably. The silence around me was deafening, cold, and indifferent. As I moved mechanically toward my plane, the thoughts came relentless and painful. How long had this been going on? How many lies had she fed me? And Corinne, had she known? Betrayed, hurt, and furious, I climbed into the cockpit, breathing deeply, forcing myself into the familiar motions of preparation. My hands shook slightly as I gripped the controls, my vision blurred with angry, bitter tears. In a matter of minutes, the plane roared to life, lifting me away from the mountains, away from Derek's luxury villa, away from Anna's betrayal. But no matter how fast or far I flew, I couldn't escape what I'd seen, couldn't unsee her smile, her laugh, and how comfortable she had looked in the arms of another man. I thought of Corinne's words the night before, her careful request for loyalty and discretion, and suddenly understood the hidden truth. She hadn't trusted me, she'd used me. Anger flared hot again, twisting into resolve. This wasn't over. Not even close. The flight back felt surreal, like piloting someone else's nightmare. Each mile from Lake Halden didn't lessen the ache in my chest. The image of Anna, leaning into Derek's confident touch, lingered relentlessly behind my eyes. Anger, sharp and blinding, simmered beneath the dull pain of betrayal. When I landed, the sun was just cresting over the small airfield at the edge of town. Without pausing to rest, I stormed straight to Corinne's aviation office, determined to cut my ties, severing every shred of the humiliating situation I'd unknowingly walked into. Inside the cramped, cluttered office, Corinne sat behind her desk, focused on paperwork, oblivious to my entrance until I slammed my palm on the tabletop. She jumped, pen dropping from her startled hand. "Henry," she gasped, taking in my disheveled appearance, the raw fury etched into my face. "What's happened?" "You know exactly what happened," I growled. "Pay me now." Her eyes widened slightly, her expression quickly shifting to cautious neutrality. It's complicated. Derek requested we hold payment until everything was fully set up." "Fully set up?" I laughed bitterly. "You mean until his little surprise, my wife, was delivered?" Corinne's face paled, and for a moment, genuine remorse flickered in her eyes. "Henry, I swear, I didn't know it was Anna." "But you knew it was somebody," I shot back coldly. "And you didn't hesitate to drag me into it." Her gaze dropped, guilt evident in her expression. She hesitated, avoiding eye contact. "This wasn't personal. It was business." "Business?" My voice cracked sharply. "You helped Derek humiliate me, and now you're gonna stall on paying me?" "No. This ends now, Corinne." She swallowed hard, anxiety rising visibly. "Henry, listen." "No," I said firmly. "Either you transfer my payment immediately, or I'm walking out of here and heading straight to every business in town to let them know exactly what kind of operation you're running. Let's see how your business survives that." Corinne stared at me for a long moment, weighing my threat. Her shoulders sagged. She pulled up her bank account on the computer, silently transferring the payment. My phone vibrated a moment later, confirmation of deposit. I glanced at it briefly, relief warring with the bitterness in my chest. "There," she muttered softly. "It's done." "Yeah," I said, voice low and hard. "We're done too." As I turned to leave, she reached out, briefly grasping my sleeve. "Henry, for what it's worth, I'm sorry." I pulled away sharply. "It's worth nothing." The morning air felt cold and sobering outside. The transaction was completed, but it felt empty, hollow. The reality of Anna's betrayal lingered, tainting everything, even my victory in reclaiming my payment. Before I could second-guess myself, I climbed into my truck and pointed it toward Derek's estate, his real home, the sprawling mansion that everyone in town whispered about with envy and admiration. The drive blurred in my memory, and when I pulled up to the massive iron gates, my pulse thumped loud and determined. Pressing the intercom buzzer, I waited, heart hammering, until the clipped voice of a woman came through. "Can I help you?" "It's Henry Weston," I said, keeping my voice level. "I need to speak to Mrs. Morrison." "Now." There was a pause, then the gates clicked open. The driveway curved elegantly, lined by manicured lawns, tasteful sculptures, and towering hedges. As I parked and stepped out, Derek's wife, Victoria, appeared at the front door. Elegant, poised, and wearing a puzzled expression. "Mr. Weston," she greeted, her voice polite but uncertain. "What can I do for you?" I met her gaze, no hesitation, no mercy. "I thought you deserved to know. Your husband is having an affair." She blinked, her mouth opening slightly, a half-smile frozen in shock. "Excuse me." He hired my company to deliver custom furnishings to his mountain villa near Lake Halden, I continued, voice unwavering. When I arrived, I found him there, intimately involved with my wife, Anna. Victoria's carefully composed expression cracked, vulnerability and hurt surfacing before she quickly regained control. Her hand rose to her throat as if trying to steady her breath. Henry, are you sure about this? I saw it myself, I said firmly. They didn't even bother hiding. Her composure faltered entirely then, her face paling. But before she could say more, I turned to leave, not waiting for her response. I'd done my part. I delivered the truth. Let them deal with the fallout. As I climbed back into my truck, Victoria's stunned expression haunted me. I had no satisfaction, only the hollow, aching emptiness of someone whose life had unraveled overnight. Behind me, Derek's house loomed, grand but now shadowed by deception and betrayal. Driving away, the reality sank in. My marriage was effectively over. Anna, the woman I'd trusted with everything, had chosen another man, someone like Derek, someone who could buy her affection with lavish gifts and luxurious isolation. My knuckles whitened as I gripped the steering wheel, anger roiling beneath my skin. Derek had taken something irreplaceable from me, and now I'd set the stage for his own reckoning. I couldn't feel joy or vindication, just emptiness, bitterness, and a burning desire for justice. My phone vibrated abruptly, breaking my thoughts. Anna's name flashed on the screen. I didn't answer. Not now. Not yet. Instead, I drove on, pushing past the boundaries of our small town, desperate to put distance between myself and the shattered remains of my trust. My thoughts turned, inevitably, to Corinne, her complicity, her betrayal disguised as loyalty. I realized bitterly that I'd trusted all the wrong people. Derek, Anna, Corinne. Their smiling faces masked their true intentions, each playing me expertly. My fingers tightened on the wheel. No more. No more trust. No more games. They'd started this, and now I intended to finish it on my terms. A few days later, I found myself at my parents' house, the place I'd once called home, the place where everything felt simpler, though not anymore. My childhood bedroom felt small now, filled with relics of a life I'd outgrown. I lay awake, staring at the popcorn ceiling, haunted by the images of Anna laughing with Derek, carefree and oblivious to my pain. It was past midnight when a soft knock rattled the front door, jolting me from my thoughts. Pulling myself upright, I trudged down the dimly lit stairs, each creak beneath my feet echoing loudly in the quiet house. Through the frosted glass, Anna's familiar outline appeared, shifting nervously. My jaw clenched as I swung open the door, confronting the woman I'd promised to love forever, the woman who'd shattered that promise without hesitation. She stood shivering slightly in the chill night air, her eyes red and swollen from tears. Henry, please, just hear me out. I folded my arms, bracing myself against the doorway, shielding myself from the sudden wave of emotions. Why are you here, Anna? She swallowed, eyes pleading. I just need you to understand. It wasn't really cheating. We were only talking, spending time together. Stop. I cut her off harshly, a fresh spike of pain ripping through me. You were with him in secret, Anna. You chose to deceive me. You hid it. That's betrayal. Pure and simple. Anna shook her head desperately, her voice cracking. I never intended for this to happen. It just felt nice to be wanted again, to feel special. I got lost, Henry. I'm so sorry. The sincerity in her voice tugged at something inside me, but I refused to yield. You could have talked to me. You could have told me you felt this way. She blinked tears down her cheeks, reaching out tentatively, stopping short when she saw the ice in my gaze. I was afraid, she whispered. Afraid you'd see me differently. Well, now I do, I answered coldly. Now I see exactly who you are. Anna's shoulders sank, her hands falling limply to her sides. What can I do to fix this? Please. I'll do anything. Leave, I said firmly, my voice heavy with finality. And stay out of my life. She stared at me, stunned. You don't mean that. Every word. She took a shaky step back, tears falling freely now, shoulders trembling. Please don't do this, Henry. We can still save our marriage. No, we can't, I said flatly. It's already gone. Anna's face crumpled, pain etched deeply into her expression. You're really ending everything we built? Over a mistake? This wasn't just a mistake. You betrayed everything we built. We're done. She stood in silence, understanding finally dawning in her eyes. Defeated, she nodded slowly. All right, if that's how you feel. She turned away, stepping into the night, casting one last mournful glance over her shoulder before disappearing down the driveway. My heart hammered painfully in my chest, but I forced myself to close the door firmly, the sound echoing with finality. Alone again, I sank onto the floor, exhausted. Moments later, my phone buzzed insistently, a new message illuminating the screen. It was from Derek. My pulse quickened as I opened it, fury building instantly. Derek, you need to back off. Anna chose me. Get over it, or you'll regret causing trouble. I stared at the message, rage simmering beneath my skin, my fingers trembling. Arrogance radiated from every typed word. But with sudden clarity, I realized something. This was more than just arrogance. It was ownership. Derek didn't see Anna as a person, but as a possession, a trophy to wave in front of me. I stood abruptly, driven by newfound determination. Derek thought he held all the cards. He thought he was untouchable. He was wrong. Without hesitation, I dialed Victoria Morrison's number, Derek's wife, and she answered swiftly, her voice cautious but steady. Hello. Victoria, it's Henry Weston again. Henry, she said quietly, sounding weary. I'm not sure I can handle more revelations tonight. You need to see something, I insisted. I'm sending you screenshots of messages Derek just sent me. You should see exactly who you're married to. A short silence, then she exhaled softly, resignation clear in her voice. All right. Send them. I quickly forwarded Derek's threatening texts, each word another nail in the coffin of his carefully constructed image. Within moments, Victoria's reply came through, short but resolute. Victoria, thank you, Henry. I see clearly now. We should talk again soon. This won't stand. A spark of grim satisfaction ignited within me. The first step in dismantling Derek's facade had begun, and I wasn't alone in the fight. Victoria had strength beneath her polished exterior, strength Derek had underestimated. Strength that, together, we could wield against him. In the aftermath, I realized I had lost much, but I had also regained something critical, my dignity. Anna's betrayal had wounded me, yes, but it hadn't broken me. The path forward was uncertain and painful, but finally, it was my path. The next morning, after barely sleeping, I sat down at the kitchen table and started separating our finances, joint accounts, credit cards, assets we'd built together. Each signature felt like both a loss and a liberation. Cutting the financial ties meant letting go of the past completely. My parents hovered nearby, uncertain of how to comfort me. They meant well, but this was a battle I had to fight alone, rebuilding myself piece by painful piece. Are you okay? My mom asked softly, placing a comforting hand on my shoulder. No, I admitted honestly, meeting her eyes, raw with exhaustion. But I will be. She squeezed my shoulder gently. You'll get through this, Henry. You always do. Her simple words echoed quietly inside me. I held onto them tightly. Later, as I stepped out into the backyard to clear my head, I noticed the welding equipment my father had set up in his old workshop, rusty and half-forgotten. Drawn inexplicably toward it, I picked up a welding mask, feeling its familiar weight in my hands. Once upon a time, long before Anna, before flying, before heartbreak, I'd found solace in working metal, creating tangible, solid things with my own hands. The craft felt honest, pure. It had once given me peace. I switched on the welder, the hum of electricity oddly comforting. Sparks illuminated the dim garage as I carefully worked, transforming scrap metal into something solid, something purposeful. Each weld felt like reclaiming another piece of myself. Hours passed, the world outside forgotten as I immersed myself fully in the rhythm of shaping steel. It was almost therapeutic, transforming chaos into something orderly and tangible. Finally, as I stood back, sweat-streaked and exhausted, I felt a faint glimmer of satisfaction, a feeling I hadn't known in a long time. I wasn't healed, not by a long shot, but I'd found a start. The pain of Anna's betrayal still ached, raw and fresh, yet I knew now that it wouldn't define me. I wouldn't let it. From here, I'd rebuild, piece by piece, weld by weld, until I forged something new. Something stronger. Something entirely my own. In the weeks after Anna left, a lingering numbness took hold of my life, punctuated occasionally by moments of searing anger. Each day blurred into the next as I grappled with the echoes of betrayal and the silent emptiness that had replaced my marriage. But I wasn't content to sit and nurse my wounds. I was ready to fight. I knew exactly who to call. Martin Hendricks was once a renowned pilot, sharp, brilliant, respected, but after a devastating crash years ago, he'd found a second life practicing law. Wheelchair-bound, he had built a solid reputation in family and divorce law, channeling his former discipline and precision into legal battles. I stepped into Martin's small downtown office, my heart heavy but determined. It smelled faintly of leather and old paper, a calming familiarity. Martin looked up from his desk as I entered, his dark eyes clear and assessing, noting my haggard appearance immediately. "Henry Weston," he said quietly, setting aside the document he was reading. "Been a while." I nodded, pulling out the chair opposite him. "Yeah, Martin. Wish I was here under better circumstances." He raised an eyebrow, gesturing for me to sit. "What happened?" I took a breath, feeling the ache surge anew as I recounted the details: Anna's betrayal, Derek's arrogance, Corinne's deception. Martin listened without interruption, his face expressionless, except for his eyes, which darkened with understanding and quiet anger. When I finished, he exhaled slowly, leaning back in his chair. "Derek Morrison? That's quite a name to go against." "I know," I replied grimly. "But I can't just walk away. Anna thinks it was love. Derek thinks it was his right. And they both used me. I can't let them get away clean." Martin rubbed his jaw thoughtfully, eyes distant. "I'll be honest, Henry. Derek's well-connected and beloved by this community. Taking him down won't be easy." "I figured," I said. Then I pulled out my phone and slid it toward him. "But maybe these will help." He read Derek's texts, arrogant threats, bold proclamations of ownership, and total disrespect. Martin's eyebrows climbed higher with each message he read. Finally, he nodded sharply, handing back the phone. "This is good. Arrogance like his usually means more mistakes. We'll find them. We'll leverage them." I leaned forward urgently. "Martin, I don't just want revenge. I want justice." "I know," he said, giving me a hard stare. "And justice means being smart, calm, and prepared. You're angry, Henry, I get that. But you have to let me lead this. You need to trust me." I nodded, feeling for the first time since everything happened a sense of control returning. "I do." 2 days later, we filed the divorce papers, explicitly naming Derek as the other party involved. When Martin showed me the documents, seeing their names in stark black and white felt simultaneously painful and satisfying. The wheels of justice were finally turning. Anna would be served at her job, a small design firm downtown. Part of me felt guilty about the spectacle until I remembered her cold dismissal of our marriage and the lies she'd spun without hesitation. A week passed before I heard from Anna. Her voice trembled as she called, sounding fragile and desperate. "Henry, how could you do this? Serving me at work? Everyone saw. You chose this path," I interrupted coolly. "You left me no choice." Her tone shifted, anger creeping in. "It's not just about me. Derek has a reputation. People respect him. You're ruining lives." I laughed bitterly. "I'm ruining lives? You destroyed our marriage. Derek humiliated me. And you still defend him." "He loves me," Anna insisted, voice quivering. "And I love him." I clenched my jaw, fighting a surge of fresh hurt. "You think you're special to him? Ask yourself why Corinne, my own boss, went along with this." Silence filled the line. I took a breath, steadying my voice. Martin gathered a few things. "Pictures, texts. Derek's been cheating on you too, Anna. This isn't love. It's just what Derek does." Her breathing quickened, and her voice came out as a whisper. "You're lying." "I'm sending you the dossier," I said flatly, my voice devoid of pleasure. "Look at it yourself. See who he really is." Later, sitting quietly in my car, I forwarded the files Martin had gathered, the candid photographs, the intimate messages Derek had sent to others, the undeniable proof of his duplicity. It felt grim, harsh, yet necessary. I wasn't playing nice anymore. 2 days passed without a word. Then Anna called again, late at night, her voice hollow and broken. "It was true," she whispered hoarsely. "Everything. All of it. He used me." I swallowed hard, conflicted by my lingering compassion. "I'm sorry, Anna. I truly am. I lost everything," she murmured softly. "You, my dignity, my job, people talk, Henry. They're judging me. You can't undo it," I said quietly. "But you can face it. This is your chance to start over, honestly, this time." She went quiet, absorbing the harsh reality. "Will you forgive me, Henry?" "Eventually." I paused, a heavy sadness settling over me. "I don't know." After we hung up, I called Martin again. His voice was calm, reassuring as always. "It worked," I told him. "She knows the truth." "Good," Martin replied, matter-of-factly. "That should keep her from testifying on Derek's behalf. Now we go after him directly. He'll try to settle quietly, keep things private. We won't let that happen." "You think we have a real shot?" I asked, tension knotting my stomach. Martin's voice hardened. "I've been underestimated my whole life, Henry. People see the wheelchair, not the person. Trust me, that's our advantage. Derek won't know what hit him. Despite everything, A small smile crept onto my lips. Martin's quiet strength filled me with determination. We were ready. That evening, as I sat alone in the quiet of my home, I felt something unexpected: hope. The bitterness and anger remained, yes, but beneath them lay a deeper clarity. I confronted my pain, my betrayal, my humiliation. Now I was facing it head-on, refusing to hide or back down. For the first time since Anna's betrayal, I sensed real change, not just loss, but renewal. With Martin's guidance, I wasn't merely lashing out in anger. I was seeking justice, truth, accountability. It was a fight worth having. And I was ready. The first time I stepped into my dad's old metal shop after everything fell apart, I wasn't sure what I was looking for. Maybe a distraction. Maybe a way to feel something other than the raw ache in my chest. The shop smelled of oil, rust, and a faint trace of burnt metal, familiar and oddly comforting. Dad greeted me with a nod, silent but steady as always. He kept the place running, though mostly in use these days. I wiped my hands on a rag, took a deep breath, and picked up a welding torch that had been gathering dust. I'd never really learned the craft, not formally. But Dad showed me the basics: how to hold the torch steady, how to read the sparks, how to shape molten metal into something strong and lasting. At first, I worked on small things, fixing a broken garden gate, welding together bits of scrap. Each piece I touched felt like a tiny victory over the chaos in my life. A few weeks later, Dad took me to a medieval heritage fair nearby. Armor-clad reenactors marched proudly past tents filled with handmade swords, shields, and chainmail. I was fascinated by the craftsmanship, the patience, the detail, the blend of function and art. Something clicked inside me. I started experimenting with chainmail links and simple armor pieces, teaching myself through trial and error. It wasn't just work, it was a way to rebuild, to reshape myself after everything that had broken. One afternoon, while finishing a rough helmet, the shop door swung open, and a woman stepped inside. She was young, with dark hair pulled back and sharp eyes that studied the pieces I was working on. "Hey, I'm Lana," she said, flashing a quick smile. "My dad used to commission some of your work." I nodded, wiping sweat from my forehead. "Henry, nice to meet you." She wandered over, picking up a partially finished breastplate. "This is impressive." "You're good." I shrugged, feeling a little awkward under her gaze. "Just picking it up again." Lana laughed lightly. "Looks like more than that. Want some help?" We worked side by side for a while, her easy chatter filling the quiet space. But as the sun dipped low, her mood shifted suddenly, sharp words, a hint of frustration. I didn't quite know what to make of it. A few days later, she called, asking if I could come by her place to help fix a broken metal frame for her garden gate. I agreed. At her house, the tension between us was electric, flirtatious, confusing, and just a little dangerous. Lana teased me, pushed boundaries, then pulled away, leaving me guessing what she really wanted. But I found myself drawn to her, to the spark she brought back into a life that had been dark for too long. Still, beneath the surface, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to her story, something Lana wasn't ready to share yet. For the first time in months, I felt a flicker of hope, not just in my work, but maybe, just maybe, in something or someone new. The days with Lana grew warmer, their awkwardness easing into something lighter, even fun. We fell into a casual rhythm: coffee at the shop, long talks about everything and nothing, laughter over welding mishaps and medieval trivia. She had this way of looking at me, like she saw something I'd long forgotten existed, a side of me beyond the broken marriage and the bitter past. For once, I let myself believe I could have more than just scars. One evening, after a long day working on a custom shield, Lana sat beside me on the worn bench outside the shop. The sky was a deep indigo, stars starting to peek through. "Henry," she said quietly, "there's something you should know." I looked over, sensing the weight behind her words. My half-brother's name is Derek. The name hit me like a punch to the gut. My heart stuttered. The air seemed suddenly thinner. Derek. The man who had shattered my life. The man who'd taken my wife. I wanted to say something, anything, but the words caught in my throat. Lana's eyes searched mine, unsure. "I didn't mean for this to come up like this. It just happened." I nodded slowly, swallowing the bitter taste of betrayal all over again. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" She shrugged, biting her lip. "I guess I was afraid. I didn't want to hurt you, or ruin what we were starting." Her vulnerability touched something inside me, but the weight of the truth pressed down hard. That night, after she left, I lay awake replaying the moment over and over. Lana's half-brother, Derek. I realized I couldn't keep this from her, not if there was any chance at honesty between us. The next morning, I called Lana. My voice was steady but heavy as I told her everything. Anna's betrayal, Derek's affair, the chaos it unleashed. At first, she didn't say a word. Then, the anger came crashing through. You lied to me. I didn't want to hurt you. You did, Henry. You lied by omission. She was furious, hurt, betrayed. I begged her to understand, to forgive, to give us a chance to start over with truth this time. But she shook her head, tears streaming down her face. I can't. Not after this. Before I could stop her, she hung up, leaving me alone with a silence that felt colder than the winter air outside. For a moment, I thought all was lost. But somewhere deep inside, I knew the fight for my future, whatever it might be, had only just begun. After Lana walked out on me, the silence she left behind was deafening. For days, I threw myself even deeper into my metalwork, hammering and welding until my hands ached and my muscles burned. The festival circuit was my refuge now. People admired my chainmail, my armor, and I felt alive again, even if the ache in my chest didn't fade. Then, out of nowhere, Lana showed up at one of the local festivals. I was setting up my booth when I spotted her across the crowd, eyes bright, a hesitant smile playing on her lips. She approached quietly. You're really good at this, she said softly, nodding toward the armor display. Thanks, I replied, unsure what to say. She lingered for a moment before turning away, disappearing into the crowd before I could ask if she wanted to talk. Later that evening, I was sitting alone in my workshop when the door swung open. Lana stumbled inside, swaying slightly, the scent of alcohol strong on her breath. I thought you might need some company, she slurred, collapsing onto a chair. I frowned, worried but cautious. I helped her up and got her a glass of water, but as the night wore on, her mood shifted, sometimes sweet and vulnerable, sometimes angry and distant. When she started accusing me of pushing her away, I realized this was a pattern, her way of dealing with her own demons, dragging me into the chaos. By the time she finally sobered up, Lana was apologizing, tears running down her cheeks. She offered a no-strings, friends with benefits arrangement, promising no drama, just fun. I looked at her, at the woman I wanted to care for but couldn't quite reach. I can't do that, I said quietly. I want something real. She nodded slowly, understanding or maybe just accepting. As she left that night, the weight of the past and the uncertainty of the future settled over me like a cold fog. I was letting go again, of the chaos, of the heartbreak, and maybe, finally, of the woman who stirred my heart but also kept it tangled in pain. For now, I focused on the work I loved, forging my armor piece by piece, hoping one day I'd find peace beyond the steel. The day my parents rolled up in front of my shop with a brand new RV was one of the few times I felt a genuine smile crack through the layers of everything I'd been through. They wanted to make traveling easier for me, something about seeing me always working late and living out of motels. Their gift wasn't just a vehicle, it was a sign that maybe they still cared, or at least wanted to. That summer, at one of the bigger festivals, I reconnected with Ellie, an artisan who specialized in leatherwork. She had a calm way about her, like she understood the grind and the glory of making something with your hands. We talked for hours, sharing stories about craftsmanship and life's ups and downs. It was easy, not forced. A slow kind of friendship that didn't demand much but gave a little back. The festival crowds came and went, but Ellie and I kept in touch, meeting when we could between shows and projects. Her steady presence was a balm for the chaos I'd left behind, and with her, I started to feel something close to hope. Then Lana showed up again, unexpected, uninvited, at one festival. She complimented my work softly before slipping away, like a ghost from the past. A few weeks later, she showed up at my door, clearly drunk, making a scene. I helped her inside, but I made it clear there were boundaries I wouldn't cross anymore. After she sobered up, Lana apologized, her voice raw and sincere. She wanted to rekindle something casual, no strings, friends with benefits, again. But this time, I didn't hesitate. I told her no. I wanted more than that, something real, something steady. Closing the door on that chapter felt less like rejection and more like reclaiming myself. I was done chasing chaos. In the quiet moments between festivals, I poured my energy into my craft, becoming known for my chainmail and armor displays. The crowds loved it, but more importantly, I loved what I was making. One cool evening, sitting outside the RV, Ellie joined me with 2 cups of coffee. We talked about everything and nothing, the kind of easy conversation I hadn't had in a long time. I looked at her and felt a rare kind of peace settle in my chest. Maybe this was the start of something new, rooted not in betrayal or loss, but in respect and quiet understanding. When Lana tried one last time to pull me back into the mess, I politely but firmly turned her away. No more running in circles. No more looking back. For the first time in years, I was moving forward, slowly, steadily, and on my own terms. And that was enough. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel and share your opinion about this story in the comments.